There we go. And there. All right. I think everything gonna be all right, I think. Hope everyone's doing well. Yep, that's good. Green light, cool. All right. Audio, great, cool. Face. All right, there we go. Hope people are doing well. Let's see here. Greetings from the Plague Throne. Well, I hope you're feeling okay, DJ Todd P. Harris. I hope you're actually, like, not sick, or if you are, it's a relatively regular sick as opposed to fancy sick. We don't like that fancy sick if we can help it. Doing some After Effects this morning, VJ Morph. Send me good vibes. Yes. After Effects is a thing. It's definitely, it's some work. Let's see here. Northern Norway, how's everyone doing? Damp, Oshawa, Ontario. How you doing, Roan? Good afternoon from Ludwigsshafen, Germany. I got that way wrong, I'm pretty sure. Before I was born, my parents lived in Gerpingen. Is that right? That's close. They were there while my dad was in the military in, like, 67. They got married. So, yeah, they were there for a couple of years. Hello from Singapore. Hope you are well. So far, so good. Morning from Winnicott, which is right near here. Greetings from a Detroit nerd bunker. Nice. Compensating for the sad face that my Dire Chasm pre-order did not arrive by painting shadows over Hammerhall. Blood Reavers. Looking forward to good skirmish talk. Indeed. Good morning from Madison. I got Sherwood Forest. Connecticut. Rainy Manchester, where I'm detailing my mob of orc death dreads. Nice. Got Kleefeld, Manitoba. Nick is somehow got moved. I suspect because booze not needed to get gotten at or something. So yeah, Nick is still there. He's just spooking around behind me. Good morning from Corpus Christi. Hey Emily, how you doing? How you doing, VJ Morph? Good morning from foggy Florida. Can you tell your snowstorms to stop for a bit? I mean, we had some snow yesterday, but it was like not a storm. It was, I don't know. We got maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches max. I was kind of hoping we were going to go this entire winter without snow. That was stupid to think that, but I was hoping. I mean, we were in like basically mid-December in Wisconsin and still yet no snow. And, yeah. So how is Mom these days, asks Joseph. Doing okay. You know, she's, I just saw her through the window, Friday? Yeah, Friday. She stopped by unannounced and left some magazines with some articles that she wanted me to look at on the recycling bin, and then we talked through the window of the door for a while and then whatnot. But we also talked yesterday on the phone. But yeah, she's been doing okay. Morning, Tabletop meetings. Hoping your family, fur, and otherwise are good. Yeah, so far so good. Diesel's been a little grouchy lately. He's been starting some fights. We're wondering if it's because of the steroids, because he's got intestinal cancer, and so he's on chemo. He's doing okay with that, and he's also on some steroids to help him eat, I guess, or whatever. And we wonder if he's getting roid rage because he's been, I don't know. It's been weird, but otherwise he seems to be okay. Currently sleeping right over there. Good morning from Buffalo, New York. Putting together my first 40K minis. Well, congratulations. It's a fun hobby if you haven't if you've been doing hobbying for a long time, you know, like other games, not 40K, then that's, you know, you know what that. But if this is your first stuff, then welcome. It was the bad sick, but tomorrow's last day of quarantine. Feeling worlds better while painting my Night of the Living Dead minis. Well, we're glad to hear that you're feeling better there, DJ Todd P. Harris. Absolutely. Greetings from a snowy northern Sweden. Good morning from Cincinnati. Good morning from New York City. Beautiful and sunny here. Hope you are all having a good morning. Moderator Matt says, have your mom guest host one day. I don't know that she would know what to talk about necessarily, but that would be a little funny. Hello from Minsk. Morning from a wet, raining mid-Michigan. Good afternoon from a very dark and damp West Yorkshire. I think someone took the term daylight saving literally and took all the daylight out for today. Yeah, it's a little dark today, too, because I think of the cloud cover and stuff, but it's not too bad. Let's see here. Good afternoon, Uncle Adam. How you doing? Got morning from sunny Philly. Let's see here. Good morning from New Jersey, assembling my first 20 of many new clan rats. Nice. Hello from Northern Virginia, priming away so I can paint for the upcoming snowstorm this week. Absolutely. Hello from Sussex. What else have we got here? Greetings from Devon, England. I'm working on my MDF terrain for Zona Alpha. Nice. I just got some MDF terrain for Zona Alpha. Came in the mail a week or two ago from a company called Blackstone Studios. I think that's what it was. And it was like segments of like cinder block wall that are busted, kind of. They're supposed to be busted. They didn't get busted like in transit or whatever. But you know what I'm saying. But yeah, yeah, definitely. Good morning from Idaho. Good day from Sweden, Yokohama. 2 a.m. Monday morning here. Excited for 4-day family getaway starting this. Nice. That sounds like a good idea. Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to. Let's see. This week is regular, and then next week I think is Christmas, isn't it already? I mean, good lord. Yeah, this week is like gonna be a normal week for me, and then next week is gonna be Christmas, so I'll have a couple of days off, probably at least. And I'm thinking about, because I normally stream on Twitch. Excuse me. I normally stream on Twitch on Mondays at 7 p.m. and Fridays at 10 a.m. Well, not this upcoming week, but the next week after that, Friday at 10 a.m. will be Christmas Day. And I was talking just recently on Twitch last week, where I was like, because I'd looked at the calendar, I was like, oh, that's going to be Christmas Day. And I was asking the folks in chat on Twitch whether or not they'd be interested if I just decided to stream on Christmas morning like normal. And a lot of them were like, well, yeah, because a lot of people aren't going places this year, not going to be hanging with family and stuff like that. So I will probably give it a try. I'll probably do it, my normal 10 a.m. Central to 1 p.m. Central for that, at least. So that would be on the 25th. Irregulars next week? Yes, that'll be next. Obviously it won't be yesterday because it's today. But yeah, it'll be this upcoming Saturday. There's another every other Sunday show on the 27th. Yes. Today's the 13th. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, 14 days from now. Yep, absolutely. Welcome from a hot South Africa. Wow. Just started putting together my Scions of Flame. There's some buns of steel in there. Nice. Finished painting a Death Guard model. Free model GW stores give out at the start of each month. This is my idea of hobby roulette. Well, that's kind of cool, yeah. Have you seen those pop-up terrain boards, like the pop-up books from when you were a kid? Seems like a cool idea. I think I've seen them somewhere, and I don't remember where. But yeah. It's like a board, and when you open it, kind of like when you open the Kill Team board, like those cardboard, like board game style boards, but there's also a pop-up building in there somehow. The only downside, in my opinion, is then you can't really, you can't like put the building where you want. I'm assuming it's attached to the board in that fashion so that it unfolds when you pop it up. Like I said, I remember seeing them someplace, but I did not. I don't know if it was on Facebook. Was it an ad? Maybe it was in some video. I'm not exactly sure, but I did come across it someplace recently. No snow in Uperland. See, that's weird. Usually up in the UP, up there in the northern peninsula, the upper peninsula, of Michigan, there's usually snow there before there is here. But yeah, we got it hit yesterday. Let's see. You could always give us a diesel cam on Twitch. Well, I'd have to get a cape. Well, first of all, I'd have to know where he was. Problem number one. Problem number two is I stream Twitch downstairs and I stream this upstairs, and so yeah, I'd have to see if I could find a wireless camera and figure. Well, I could maybe with a. Yeah, he doesn't, because he moves around a lot, so it would be hard to keep a track of him. I think even when he's sleeping. I mean, there you go. Hey Jane, how you doing? Genuine Vision. Afternoon from a chilly but clear Ireland. Well, that's good. Time for a Christmas fez for the Christmas stream. Two problems. Number one, I don't have a Christmas fez, so there's that. I have a red fez. It's got skull and crossbones on it, though, so it's not exactly Christmassy, but, whatever. Secondly, I think if I wore a fez during the stream, because I'm so close to the camera that's like pointing down at what I'm painting, that I would clunk it all the time. Because sometimes I clunk it with my head a little bit without even wearing a hat. So with a fez, I would definitely, every time I'd look down, I would clunk the camera, which would be problematic. Let me see here. Have you seen the new Spider Serum and Frost Effect paints from Green Stuff World? No. Well, Spider Serum, is that like to make like spider webs? I just guessed that. I might have seen it maybe like on Instagram. I think I follow them on Instagram. Or I used to. I don't remember. But I haven't seen... I've never seen Green Stuff World stuff other than the acrylic rollers in the wild. I've never... Like, when I go to conventions, I see those texture rollers from time to time. And maybe I've seen some of their paints, like when I was in Nova last year. The Northern Virginia Open, which is in D.C., it's usually in the fall, and it was in fall 2019. But I can't remember ever seeing the like. There's no places around by me that carry the stuff either. So yeah, I think they're Spanish. Are they a Spanish company, kind of like Vallejo and stuff like that? Let's see here. You could do something like when they dangle a carrot in front of a donkey. I don't know. Diesel's been like. He's not as food motivated as he used to be. He's more these days. He is more of a I want to go outside motivated. Like he wants to go outside all the time, and we never let him out just by himself. He's not. We're not into that in general, and also he's not smart enough. So because he would get hit by a car probably. But we go outside and follow him around and stuff. We used to have him on a little leash and things like that. But then as he's gotten older, we realize he's not going to run away. He just wants to like chew on grass and sniff things. But he just doesn't understand now that it's snow and ice outside, and he doesn't seem to like that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let's see here. I'm rocking the lockdown hair here. No fez in sight. Yeah, I did finally get a haircut, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, the lady that cuts my hair is not hopefully going to have any more surgery, so hopefully we should be okay with that. It is weird though getting a haircut with a mask on though, because then you get hair in there, but it's fine. If I had a fez, I would recreate the Steve Martin Egyptian dance he did on the 70s on stage. What was that? King Tut was the name of the song. Yes. Are those new glasses from Zeddy? Zenni. Ends Zenni. They're not new. I've had them for quite a while. I also have this hair that's just what size is it? Right there you go. Okay. It's really hard to see there. What is going on? It's just a weird stray. There we go. Okay. No, I haven't gotten new glasses in a while, but they are from Zenni. It's a place online that you can get glasses for really cheap, which I really like. They just, when I was first, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times, when I was first told, oh, you should get bifocals or progressive lenses or something like that, the place that I was, the eye place I was at here in town, I like looked at some glasses and I was like, oh, okay, well these are kind of cool and this is this and okay, great. It was like $650. I was like, and then I got the information from the eye doctor, like all the prescription information for the thing, and then I went to Zenni because a friend of mine told me about it, and not an ad by the way, and these, including shipping, I think cost $65. So, and I've been wearing these glasses and other glasses from them for like the last several years. I haven't had any troubles. I had a friend who was like, well, yeah, but what if you break them? And I'm like, well, what if I break $650 glasses? That sounds worse. If I break $65 glasses, I can do that 9 more times and still be, not out of, not caught up. So, yeah. Green Stuff World is Spanish. There you go. Nice. Guess we need a GoPro Fez mount. That'd be interesting. No, I mean like the mechanism, so the cam is already in front of... Oh, I see. So you attach the cam to the cat. Oh, maybe. Build Diesel a wrestling rig. Let him vent his roid rage in the squared circle. I knew somebody who used to have... Like, back in the day, they used to have these big G.I. Joes. And there was... But there was also a companion toy that was like... They were the same size as the big G.I. Joes, I think. but they had a thing that was attached to the back of them, and then so like GI Joe's looking at you right there at the camera, right, and he's I don't know, 11 inches tall or whatever, and then there are buttons that you could push on this little platform that's kind of behind GI Joe that would make him punch and kick, and he had a plate on his chest that was separate, and if you hit that plate, then he would fall backwards or fall forwards, and it was basically you had two of them, and they came, there was toys, and you kind of moved them around the table, and it was like karate. You'd be pushing these buttons, and they would be basically just chopping each other. Anyway, I knew this kid who used to use that with his cat. Like his cat would come over, and he'd set this thing on the table, and then the cat would be batting at it, and he would be making little plastic legs kick at the cat and stuff like that. And that was a little game that they played. That cat was surly. Potentially because of that. I was a young kid, and at the time, if I was older, I would have been like, hey, maybe don't do that. But let's see here. Morning from Rhode Island, literally assembling whatever stuff I find in my backlog. It's always a good idea. Building Conquest, random RPG models, 40k, Warcaster. I may have bought too much in lockdown. I think a lot of people did. Too much is maybe a strong word. A lot of people have bought models. A lot of people have bought paints. A lot of people have bought hobby supplies during lockdown. A lot of hobbies getting done, which is good. It's very good. But yeah, it is one of those situations where, I know, GW is doing pretty well. I know, paint manufacturers, specifically, I know, Army Painter is doing quite well. But neighbor's doing something weird outside with their car. But I know that, Vallejo is having a bit of trouble just because the region of Spain that Vallejo is in has been hit very hard by the COVID, and so their production, and from what I heard from somebody recently, is stilted a bit. It's a bit difficult for them to get product out and things like that. So I know from talking to some store friends of mine that they're like, yeah, it's been really difficult to get new product from them in the stores and things. So hopefully that will be finished or fixed or whatever at some point. Whatever happened to the LCD billboard screen 40K terrain piece? It's still in very slow, not getting anything done progress, but it's still there. It has, and I think I talked about this relatively recently, or at least in this year, it works now. When I first bought that little LCD screen thing, that worked. Then it stopped working as I started working on the project, and then I was like, well, that sucks. But I have worked with a friend of mine who's way more electronically savvy than I am. He can solder and stuff like that, and and he and I worked together to. I basically bought a bunch of stuff after he was like, get this, don't get this, and so there's now a Raspberry Pi Zero, which is the very, very small Raspberry Pi computer that's literally the size of a stick of gum, not like a little Trident, but the bigger, like a Juicy Fruit, and all the other junk. So yeah, it's eventually I'm going to finish up that project, and then I'll make a video about it, about what happens when a terrain project gets totally out of hand, and we'll see how that works. Rock'em Sock'em Robot. Yeah, except not in a ring. They were just two platforms that sort of, you could just slid around the table until your mom told you to stop because you were wrecking the dining room table. But yeah, it's kind of like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, except their heads didn't go up. They kind of, like I said, I think they're at their at the pelvis, and when you hit them, they fell backwards, which that looks painful. Reminds me of that scene in Iron Man 2. Hey, from Denver. Working on some of my backlog and also selling off some of it to shrink it. It's not a bad idea. If you got some stuff that you're not going to use, eBay's key, and then you can use that money to buy other stuff or put it into your retirement or whatever. Better have and not need than need and not have. Well, I can understand that too. Howdy, Uncle Adam. This Purple Biscuit is building his own magnetic storage boxes. Nice. How you doing? What do about models you bought that you regret? I don't know if I'm reading that properly. I've got some sprue from different historical box that's left over. I bought way more than I need to make a warband. It's going to be hard to sell, I'm sure. What do you do with... Well, I mean, I like to keep bits from stuff. If I've got a model that I didn't use bits from, because there's multiple pieces sometimes. They'll have different ways you can put it together. this model can be put together this way or this way or this way, but you can only put it together one way usually, unless you magnetize stuff, which, and so you do that, and then you put it together one way, but you have the extra components from the other ways. I like to hold on to them in most situations. Every once in a while you look at a bit and go, this is never going to be usable, but it's pretty rare, like even like just a weird left arm that had a different option than the one that you used, you could look at it and go, well, I could use that on some other model later on. Maybe it's at least, the beginning of the left arm, and then you put some green stuff on it to make it more armored or whatever the deal is, that kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely ways to use all that stuff. I know I have added plenty to my pile of shame. Now with the release of Gamma Wolves, I've gone back to collecting Dust 47 mechs. Oh yeah. Because I watched a little bit of Ash Barker on Guerrilla Miniature Games showing off Gamma Wolves, which is a game that he wrote and designed or whatever, and then worked with Osprey Games. And they published it, I guess. But the models are really big that he's using. Like, it's a robot mech fighting game and stuff like that. But the Dust 47 mechs would be a good idea. That's a good idea to use that system for. Because otherwise I was like, I don't know where I would get those mechs. I saw the video he did on his channel where he was doing like a Let's Play. And I was like, I don't know if those were Gundams or I don't know. I didn't recognize any of the pieces, and I was like, well, that seems like it would be slightly difficult. You know what I mean? For at least for me, if I was to try to do that game, I wouldn't know where to find the models, and they're not specific models just for his game. They're it's a models agnostic thing, but it's not 28mm people. It's these bigger robots and stuff. So yeah, but Dust 47 would be a good idea. I was actually looking. Dust 47's got a Avatar of Cthulhu model that I kind of want. So I keep thinking about getting that. Building a kill team of Sisters of Battle for my friend as a Christmas present. These plastic sisters have the worst mold lines I've ever seen in a GW product. It's nuts. That's weird. I wonder if that was some sort of manufacturing default or a defect or something like that. Because I've looked at the Sisters models that I've got. I haven't built them yet, but I've looked them over and I've not seen terrible mold lines yet. So I don't know. That's a good question. Good afternoon from Stoke-on-Trent, England. First time being able to tune in without having to worry about essays. Nice. Good to hear it. Got to play our weekly Gaslands Fest on Friday night. I totally cramped out. All my vehicles were wrecked before Gate 3, pushing too hard. Well, that happens, yeah. Going to be very ready. That's me. Sorry. I'm going to be very ready once social distancing is over. Yeah, I think a lot of people are. But I also have people in the house to play with, so if I want to finish with the Warcry box before I'm too deep in January. Yeah, that's also true, too. I mean, but yeah, there's, I think, a lot of people, like, once we can finally start going out and doing things again and going to stores and things and whatever, like, once hopefully the vaccine, all that jazz. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of painted stuff, I think, which is going to be nice. Hello again from Florida with Scotch and Cigar. Nice. This has become my new Sunday routine. Current project is Blackstone Fortress, about 70% done. Nice. Yeah, there's a bunch of those models that I really do like. I actually went onto eBay and bought, not the robot guy, but he's like a servitor kind of, I think. I think he's a servitor. So there's the robot like UR025. That guy's pretty cool. But then there's another kind of robot-y sort of looking dude that I bought an extra one on eBay just because I wanted to kit bash it and use it for something else, but I still wanted to keep the regular one in case I wanted to do everybody in the Blackstone Fortress eventually regular, whatever. As time has gone on, I suspect that's maybe not going to happen, so I may end up using that model again for something else, but we'll see. Cordial says, you had me at mech fighting game. Yeah, it's called Gamma Wolves. You should take a look at it. It's from, like I said, it's from Osprey, and I believe it's been released, or it's just about to, but I think it was released before, like a couple weeks ago, maybe. What is the name of the Osprey game you're talking about? Gamma Wolves. Yep. Let's see here. Sisters I built for Kill Team did not have bad mold lines, or if they had, I missed them. Yeah, like I said, I think sometimes because of the way, like sometimes in certain manufacturing, like a lot of times it's if a model is old, a kit is old, and that steel mold has pressed together thousands and thousands and thousands of times over time, it can get I think, off a little bit somehow, although I'm not quite sure how the manufacturing on that particularly works. But that does seem to be the case, where it doesn't come all the way together anymore, and that's how you get the mold line, where the two pieces of the molds come together, and then, the plastic gets injected in there, and some of it squirts. So either the mold gets worn, or I don't know exactly how that works. If it's a newish mold, it shouldn't do that too much unless either A, it's been poorly manufactured, the molds, and then all of them will be screwed up, or if there was just something like, I think sometimes when the molds come together and then they come out, sometimes you can get over the course of, let's say you're running a bunch of these kits over the course of a day or something like that, or maybe 2 days, I don't know. I think sometimes maybe you can get excess plastic on the surface where the two molds come together, and then the molds can't press together as tight as they should, and then maybe that's how you get more mold lines. I'm not sure, though. Uncle Adam, when do you see conventions opening back up? I was talking to some friends last night, including moderator Matt. We were talking about this on Discord. And, probably, I don't know that Gen Con will happen in 2021. I really don't. Even if it did, I still don't know if I would go in early August. Just because it's so massive. I mean, it would probably not be as big. Even if they just, everything seemed pretty cool and they were like, yep, let's do this. I don't think it would be 70,000 people this year. Because there would be a lot of people to be like, yeah. I mean, specifically people that come from out of the country. People who come from out of the country who would come to America usually to go to Gen Con. Maybe it's something they don't do every year, but they do it or they've done it, or they've been saving up and they wanted to. I would, if I was outside of America, I would be like, yeah, I'm not going to come to America in 2021. Just not going to do it. You know what I mean? I can understand that. Potentially, I could see Nova Open, which is in the end of August, early September, because it's so much smaller than Gen Con. It's like 3,000 people maybe instead of 70,000. I could potentially see that working out. But I mean, Adepticon 2021 they've already announced a couple weeks ago that it was canceled. Gen Con hasn't announced anything, but I think that they probably will have to eventually, probably sometime in 2021. They're not going to do it now. They've got to wait a little while. Usually it's some legal thing with the contract with the convention center and all that jazz. But yeah, it's probably going to be maybe fall-ish of 2021 before we'll start seeing. I mean, let's be perfectly honest, there have been some conventions, some small ones. I was watching on Twitch. I was just flipping through Twitch looking for stuff to watch one day, and I came across two guys playing in a battle report, and I'm like looking at the battle report, and I'm like there was a certain camera angle where I'm like, they're not like doing this in their basement or something like that. And then I realized they were doing it in a church basement, and it was someplace in, I don't know, Kansas or Nebraska, someplace in the middle part of the country. And and they were wearing masks, but it looked like it was a convention of probably, I think it was 100 people. You could see in a certain camera angle that there was a whole bunch of other tables off in the background, and they were all playing 40K. And I was like, or maybe Age of Sigmar. It was a GW thing for sure. But I was like, whoa. And this was 3 months ago, 2 months ago. I'm like, yeah, so I wouldn't have gone to that myself personally. So yeah, there's a little bit of that here and there, but the bigger conventions that people know of and stuff like that, those are definitely going to be more, I think, like I said, probably fall 2021, in my opinion. I'd love to see a how it's made video for 40K minis. Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. I'd like to see that. Let's see here. The plate can shift slightly, and that will leave a seam line. Doesn't have to be an old mold. The alignment has to get checked periodically. So yeah, I kind of figured that's yeah. You gotta, because multiple impressions over the course of however long. And I would think certain plastic trinkets and stuff like that. Those molds go very quickly, and also they do more than just let's say you're making some sort of little widget. I'm sure the molds will make 10 widgets at once, and then they'll fall into the bin. But it's not press, it doesn't take a minute and then they pop open. It's pretty quick, I would bet, in a lot of situations. But for high detail models and stuff like that, 40K models, Age of Sigmar models, Malifaux models, all that kind of stuff, the process probably runs a bit slower than just normal, super cheap pennies on the dollar widgets and stuff like that. But still, it seems to go fast, or at least not too slow. USA is off the cards for this morph in 2021. Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. Let's see here. Hi, Uncle Adam and Collective. Can I get in early and promote Carnivale from TT Combat? Is an amazing skirmish game. Fish folk fighting humans around in the canals of Venice. See, I never knew there was fish folk. I've watched people play that game, Beasts of War, which is now on Tabletop. They used to push that game quite a bit. Are the fish folk new? I'll have to take a look at that, because that's interesting. Yeah, no, so I've heard of Carnivale before. It's, yeah, it is a Canals of Venice kind of interesting sort of skirmish game, but that's cool. And it was designed, and originally published by somebody else, I forget who, and then TT Combat came along and picked it up. They've done that a bunch with a bunch of different companies, which I'm glad that TT Combat is out there, because not only do they make some kind of cool stuff, but they've also done Drop Fleet Commander, Drop Zone Commander. They picked those up from Hawk Wargaming, Carnivale. There's a couple others that I can think of too. So yeah, absolutely. Sounds about right for the Midwest. There's an Omaha tournament still on for next summer. Sisters of Battle at the Church. Yeah. Do people like Star Wars Legion Skirmish? You know, I got to be honest about Star Wars Legion Skirmish. When they announced Star Wars Legion Skirmish, I was like, that's what I want. Because I like Star Wars Legion fine, but I'm like, what I want is Kill Team with Star Wars dudes. And Star Wars Legion Skirmish is not Kill Team with Star Wars dudes. It's, instead of playing an 800-point game per side, each side has 800 points, you're playing 500 points, which is not even half the size. So it's slightly smaller. And I sat down and just kind of ran numbers and kind of come up with a list, and it's not, in my mind, skirmish is usually 10 models or less, maybe 20 models or less. That's skirmish to me. I guess if we're going to get down to brass tacks and do some definition, skirmish gaming is each side has generally less than 20, very frequently 5 to 10 models per side. That's my sweet spot, but there are games out there like for Kill Team, my Imperial Guard, I think, is 13 or 14 models. So that's not bad, But generally, I like to play less than 10 on a side. That's what I like. That's the sweet spot for me for skirmish. Star Wars Legion Skirmish is far more models than that generally. And it's just basically and it's still, you're moving things in squads, which is usually, to me, in my mind, not a skirmish thing. Skirmish is everybody moves separately. You don't move things in squads. You may have a special ability that says that these 2 or 3 guys can move together to make it so that their activations happen at the same time, and that's like a special ability or something. But for the most part, if you're like, okay, now this squad's going to go over here, in my mind, that's not a skirmish game anymore. That's more of an army-style game when you move units in squads. So yeah, I like Star Wars Legion, don't get me wrong, but when they were like, oh, here's the skirmish game, I didn't feel like that was the right word. I don't know what they should have called it, but skirmish to me was not the right word. I was really hoping to see basically like Kill Team, where I could have a unit of 2 Death Troopers and 3 regular Stormtroopers, and they were going to go out and get into some shenanigans, and then maybe like one dude, like some sort of boss, some sort of it could be Darth Vader, it could be whatever. But instead, it was like the normal game, just with slightly less models. And so that's personal preference. Imperial Assault is a good Star Wars skirmish game. It's been so long since I played it. Yeah, I did play it really, really long time ago, but I haven't played it in a while. But I've got friends that play it. Actually, I've got friends that have been playing it during the pandemic. They've been playing it online. Like, one guy's got the board, and then he's got like a webcam on the board, maybe 2 webcams on the board, and then everybody else has got like their webcam with their face, and they're using Google Meet, which if you just share the link, you can open that link in multiple places. You don't have to have a separate account for everything. So what they're all doing, and I think this is brilliant, is they've got their laptop or whatever camera pointed at their face, and then they have another window that they open on their phone, and they point their phone down at their dice tray, so that while I'm talking and stuff like that and everything, and then like the person who's running the game is like, okay, it's your turn. I'm like, okay, cool, and I can throw my dice into a dice tray, and you can see it, and you can like position your windows or whatever so that my dice tray is next to my head or whatever and stuff like that. And that's a really smart idea, because then it's more fun than me like rolling off camera and going, I got a 12 or whatever. Plus, being a Star Wars game, they don't use numbers. It's all weird symbols. I'm like, I got that one that looks like a lightning bolt, but it's got a round dot near it. You know, that's I got 3 of those, and then one of the blank ones. Like it's hard to explain, but when you just roll it, and everyone is like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. That makes it easier. So that's if you're interested in that, look at Google Meet. Again, not an ad, but if you just like someone starts the meeting, you can just hand out and use that link over and over and over again during that session, and then open it on your laptop and on another computer and on your phone and all kinds of stuff like that if you need to be able to have multiple cameras for each person, let's say. It's a simple way to do it. Have you ever played Wild West Exodus by Warcradle? I played Wild West Exodus by the previous company who originally designed it, which was technically like Battle Foam, but Romeo worked with some other outside people to work on it and stuff like that. Obviously for the sculpting, because I don't know that Romeo's, well, maybe he's a sculptor. I don't think he is, but I think he worked outside with game design. I know he worked with Craig from the D6 Generation podcast. I think he wrote most of the story and like fluff and stuff, lore, if you will. Anyway, but I haven't played the new version. And I know that Warcradle has got a new Mythos game coming out, which is also supposed to have Fishman in it. And I remember hearing about it. Like, I was walking around the GAMA trade show. GAMA is the Game Manufacturers Association. So I'm walking around the GAMA trade show back in Reno, just before all of this, in the before times, right at the beginning, at the end of the before times, but, you know, at the beginning of the now times. So it was early March, and I'm in Reno. And I'm walking around in, you know, this trade show, and I heard the word Fishman come from, like, my left. And I was like, what? And then I went over, and then it was the Warcradle booth, and a guy was talking to somebody else about how they were going to be having Fishmen in this Mythos game. And I don't know that they've still come out yet, but I do want to see them, and I hope that they do come out soon. So I'm interested in checking that out, honestly, is the Mythos game. I think that would be a little bit more my speed. I'm not a big cowboy fan. Like, I'm not against them. I've just never been interested in... Like, there are some cowboy skirmish games out there. Knuckle Dusters is one that comes to mind, although I may have made that one up, but I swear to God, I've seen they've had a booth at Adepticon the last couple of years, and there's been some other ones out there as well. But yeah, the Wild West Exodus sounds they've changed things a bit as Warcradle's picked it up. Besides not just mechanics, but also story. Like, there's aliens and stuff now too. But yeah, it's interesting. Bros and Badgers will have a new Kickstarter coming soon, huh? Ever played Warhammer Age of Reckoning? I don't think so. I don't know what that is. No. Raven Feast is going to be great for new players. Yes, Raven Feast is something I want to talk about. So there's a gaming group that I think then became a blog. It's still a gaming group, and then eventually became a YouTube channel. And it's called Little Wars TV. I don't know if they're affiliated with the Little Wars convention. Maybe they are. Anyway, Little Wars TV... they're all about historicals. That's their thing. They don't do anything. I don't think they do anything that's not actually historical tabletop wargaming, miniatures and all that stuff. You know, so like Civil War, Napoleonics, Ancients, all that jazz. They recently, and they reached out to me and let me know about this a little bit before it came out, but they recently decided that one of the hardest parts of getting into historical wargaming is that it's very difficult to figure out, like, if you want to get into regular, you know, what we think of as regular miniatures, as you know, as far as like what's popular at the stores and stuff like that, you walk into the store and you're going to find Games Workshop stuff. You're going to go Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40K. Those are your kind of big options. The models are great. They've got lots of marketing. Lots of people play it. With historical wargaming, the miniatures don't matter as much because, you know, World War II dudes are World War II dudes, or American Civil War are American Civil War. And with most miniature games for historicals, as long as you get the scale right and as long as they're the right era, it doesn't matter the manufacturer. Okay, so it's a little bit kind of model agnostic or miniature agnostic. But the problem is trying to get everybody to, or trying to get some people at least on the right. What happens is that, like, this gaming group of historical players, they all play this rule set because they've all decided to like it. So there's not like a beginner friendly, if you're interested in historicals, here's where you should start. So they wanted to fix that, is the long and short of it. So Little Wars TV has made a game called Raven Feast. Raven Feast? Raven Quest? Raven Feast, I'm pretty sure. And it's free. I mean, you can buy it, but if you want to buy like a book, that you have to buy. But if you want the PDF, from what I understand, it's free. And it is basically miniature skirmish historical. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like around the era of like Vikings and stuff like that. So if you're, Raven Feast. So if you're interested, just do a search for Little Wars Raven Feast, and I'm sure you'll find it. But they built a website for it, and like I said, they're getting books printed, but they also have the PDF, which is free. And they've just basically made a really smart, like, overall resource to be like, look, if you're interested in getting at historicals, this is a good place to start, because there are so many different rule sets that are all much smaller than what we're used to with some of the big players in non-historicals, that it's difficult to kind of figure out, well, what should I, what this, like, there's some, like, Saga is relatively well known if you're also interested kind of in Vikings and that era and stuff like that. But a lot of the other companies are, unless you get into something World War II, then you're looking probably at bolt action, if you want to stay 28 millimeter scale. If you want to get into something smaller, then Flames of War, that's fine. But for other types of games like Ancients, Vikings, Saxons, all that jazz, take a look at Raven Feast if you're interested in that. Like I said, it is a free game that has been put out by the folks from Little Wars, which I think is very cool. Raven Feast is going to be great for new players. Free rules with like 10 dudes per side for historicals. Yeah, so that's also a thing too, is very frequently historicals have a tendency to go army scale, which is also daunting to someone who is new because there's just so many more models to paint. So yeah. Can you possibly make a t-shirt that says, so you got that going for you? It's my favorite phrase that you use. I think that's from Caddyshack. I mean, it's a situation like the Bill Murray's character in Caddyshack would. I think he was having a conversation with Chevy Chase, and he was like talking about something, and he was basically like his life is just not like everything he's talking about doesn't sound good. Like he's like, well, I got this going on and this going on and all that stuff. He's like, but then I got this, so I got that going for me, which is nice. Oh, it was because he was talking about how he had been a caddy for the Dalai Lama. And then the Dalai Lama, instead of giving him a tip, told him that as he died, he would have total consciousness or something like that. There's a long line from that, which is very funny. But that's the whole. So I got that going for me, which is nice. Google Meat, is this new food stuff? No, not quite the same. The meat with 2 E's. Yeah. Would King's Armada count as a skirmish game? Oh, with the boats, Kings of War Armada. I mean, I generally keep skirmish in my mind for whatever reason, and Lord knows I'm not the boss of everything. But in my mind, skirmish is usually people, but I mean a small group of boats fighting another smallish group of boats. That's skirmishy. It's skirmish adjacent. I would say that. Definitely, yeah. Marvel Crisis Protocol is a lot of fun and quick to play. The reason that Marvel Crisis Protocol Rainbow Lunchbox is over here on the title sheet, or whatever, title card, is because I had a photo on my phone from Gen Con last year, 2019, that when they announced it and they showed it off and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, hey, and I took some pictures, and then I was like looking for pictures of a skirmish game on my phone, and I was like, I got a bunch of boring photos of basically Kill Team over and over and over again, but I was looking for something a little bit more interesting, so I went with that picture that I found on my phone. So yeah, that's where that came from. Alpha Strike is a skirmish game. BattleTech Alpha Strike? Yeah, I would say probably, I guess, yeah. Again, I would like to, I don't know, there's times I would like to play that, but like I said, I tried to get into it, and I could buy the models but not the rules, and now later on I could buy the rules and not the models, and so it's been troublesome. I've watched at least 6 bat reps from 3 different channels, and all of them sorry, I missed what we're talking about on that one thing. Alpha Strike rules? Is that what the Z is about? I pre-ordered Underworld Dire Chasm from GW and it hasn't shipped yet. My vulnerability to coins betrays me again. Yeah, the Dire Chasm, like, Ultima, I did it again. Warhammer Underworld. I used to play a lot of Ultima Underworld. When that was like one of my first PC games. Anyway, Warhammer Underworld. I like that game. It's cool. Like I said, I still think it's one of the greatest gateway games kind of out there. The new Dire Chasm, like the models, like hey, let's have cow elves fight against Slanesh. I can't care less. I just it's the models. It's honestly, and they're well sculpted. They're technically done very well, but I just can't stand either of those forces. Like I would never, ever, ever, ever build and play anything cow elves because it's just not my interest. I'm not saying that you're bad or dumb if you like them. It's just, chocolate versus vanilla. But like they're both of these flavors are very well constructed and designed, and they won't kill you or anything and all that kind of stuff. They're not poisoned, but it's just a preference. So when they do that, like in the last one in Beastgrave, at least they had the little goat people. They had the Beastmen. Well, like those guys are cool. The other guys, the Wild Hunt, I was like, those just models did not speak to me because they're basically wood elves or something. And I was like, meh. And now they got cow elves versus Slanesh models, which I just don't like either of them, and I don't know why. I never have. So there's nothing in that initial box that I'm interested in. That being said, they will be coming out with Lizardmen finally for Underworld. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so I don't know. There you go. Let's see here. I pre-ordered. I just read that. Nordic Weasel Games mega fan here. 5 Parsecs from Home and Squad Hammer Core being my favorites. Also Horizon Wars. I think I have Horizon Wars someplace in my basement, and I know I've heard of 5 Parsecs from Home, but I don't know what it's about. But I should look into it more. Let's see here. Skirmish-wise, I miss Flintlock and rolling dice for Sean Bean as an orc in British Napoleonic uniform. Nice. I never played Flintlock, but I've seen the models. They're very cool. My vote goes for Conquest First Blood by Parabellum, set in medieval epic fantasy. It has free rules, the models are amazing, great mechanics, quick to play, and best of all, it's affordable to get into. I'll have to look into the rules, because I did not know that they were free rules for the Skirmish game. I'm interested in... I'm interested in Conquest. Like, I have some of the stuff. It's a different scale. It's bigger than I'm used to. It's almost like Marvel scale. I'll be very frank. The model detail is a little smoother than I'm used to. But other than that, they're very interesting and cool looking models. Very different than a lot of other stuff that's out there. So that's cool. That all being said, I'd heard that they were working on Skirmish stuff, but I didn't realize it was a free rule set. That makes sense. So I'll have to look into that. Let's see here. Picked up Commander's Edition Black Friday at local shop. Neat. I think bat reps are pretty Z unless it doesn't really matter who does it. Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest. Like, I know that there are bat reps out there that are popular, but I don't watch too many bat reps because they can be sleepy. We only owned Caddyshack 2 on VHS. I don't know if I ever saw Caddyshack 2. I don't know. Caddyshack 1 is a masterpiece. I tried Frostgrave, but my group did not like first edition. Frostgrave, also a good skirmish game. There is a second edition now that just came out, so you could, look into that potentially. Gunga Galunga, indeed. Truer words. He was talking to a young caddy. That's right. Hey, Llama, how about a little something for the effort? There you go. Yep. Let's see here. 100% of Diarchasm is awesome. I mean, I'm glad that you like it. I really do. I am. I'm not going to tell you, and someone else also likes the Cow Elves. Again, totally, I'm glad that they made them for folks that like them, but when I look at them, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to, no, that's not for me. So, yeah, that's the problem, is that at least in the past, all the other boxes that they've made, the starter, the season boxes, whatever, the new starters that they've made every time for Underworlds, you had your Shadespire, you got your Night Vault, you got your Beast Rave, and now the new one is the Diarchasm. at least in all the other boxes, there was at least one of the two forces that came in, and I'm like, well, these guys I like, the other guys not so much. This box, I don't like either side. So it's, that was bound to happen, I suppose. Dracula's America is an excellent skirmish game on the cheap. I like Dracula's America, the concept, a ton. Basically, the idea of Dracula's America, which is produced by Osprey Games, is that Dracula escaped. It's alternate history, which is to say, fake. But so Dracula escapes England and comes over to America right around Civil War times, roughly, and evidently kills Lincoln. I think he kills Lincoln and then puts like the Congress into thrall because he's a vampire and you can be like, ooh, like that. And so he does that and then becomes president for life of America. So there's like werewolves and vampires and vampire hunters and all that kind of stuff. But it's all taking place in like roughly late 1800s America. And it's a cool kind of skirmish game like that. Finding models for it's a little hard. They have produced some models. But like, it's not as easy to just kit bash as like say more sci-fi or fantasy stuff, but you can still pull it off. And they, like I said, they have produced some metal models for certain like, things that are very difficult to particularly find and whatever, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I like Warcry as a game system, but I've not found the Chaos Warbands, not too fond of the Chaos Warbands. I still have Untamed Beasts and Iron Golem on the shelf. Yeah, I mean, I like Iron Golem, I think, is a good force. I think I like the look of it. Corvus Cabal, I like. But yeah, I know. A lot of the other ones, which is why I've been doing Skaven, Nurgle, Night Haunt, and now I'm working on Storm Bros. So yeah, I started working on those on Friday morning. I had gotten them primed. I got them built and their base is textured, and then I primed them Thursday night and gave them a silver zenithal. And I started working on blocking in some of the stuff and throwing some washes on and things like that. Doing a little bit of highlighting. That started on Friday, so I'll continue on that on Monday night, tomorrow night. Let's see. You didn't miss much with Caddyshack 2. I, kind of figured that, yeah. Anyone mentioned Fallout? Fallout Wasteland Warfare is a pretty cool game. I like that it also has solo play. I think that's a cool add-on. The models don't wow me for some reason, and I don't know why, but they don't. But otherwise, it's not a bad game. Especially like it's not a competitive game. It's much more narrative and story driven, I think, or at least it can be, and I like that. So that's very cool. This is not a test, and Reality's Edge are great skirmish games. We were talking a little bit about last night when I was talking on Discord with moderator Matt and some other folks. Blake from the the Life After the Cover Save podcast. I could not remember the name of that cyberpunk game. I kept calling it Tomorrow's Edge, Edge of Tomorrow, Days of Our Lives, something like that. I could not. Reality's Edge, that's right, but I could not remember the name of it. Another one for the queue is Moonstone. Great bluffing mechanic. Super characterful goblins. Moonstone. I've not heard of Moonstone. I'll have to check that one out. I'm so excited for the Lizardmen in Dire Chasm. I've only ever painted Lizardmen for commission, so this should be super fun. See, yeah, I've always wanted to paint some Lizardmen, but not all Lizardmen. That's the same thing with Tyranids. Like, I just got finished doing Tyranids for Kill Team. I've wanted to paint 7 Tyranids, not 200. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that I love about skirmish games, and it's great. But yeah, I'll have to definitely. I'm really looking forward to the Lizardmen for Underworld. So that's going to be great. Miniatures Market had some deep discounts on Conquest stuff. They have deep discounts on a lot of things, which sometimes I wonder about. Like I wonder, like if they buy in real heavy and then sell it super discounted, is that bad for the overall industry? I don't know. I'm not a business person, but it seems, I don't know, it seems a little weird. But, I mean, I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong as far as, like, legally. I just don't know if it's a great strategy for the longevity of the industry to some degree. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I am always surprised when, because I've been to their website before and I've been like, whoa, that's not that old and it's on deep discount and it's weird. Heard that the second edition doubles down on the things they disliked. You can both decide not to fight and still win. Like that idea. I'm not catching what that is in reference to. Sorry. Caddyshack 2 is bad as Highlander 2 compared to the original? Whoa. Now, those are strong words, because Highlander 2 is really bad. Wow. Alright, well, you know. Let's see here. Why was the Highlander bored at a pro wrestling match? I don't know what that's all even about there. Warcry Shadowstalker models are sweet. Warcry Shadowstalker. I don't know. I'll have to look. I don't know what those are. Rumor was the illustrator for Frostgrave and Dracula's America. Oh, Rumor. I thought that was just a weird typo. She's done amazing work. Yeah, I like the illustrations on both of those. They're really great. New Signs of Flame for Warcry are lit, pun intended. They're not. Yeah, I like them. But I just don't think that I'm a good enough painter to properly paint flame effects. And those guys are like just covered in flame effects. And so that's a little daunting. Plus, I have plenty of other Warcry stuff to work on, so there's that. But down the road, maybe at some point, I could see maybe looking at those guys. Very disappointed you went with Sigmarines instead of doing Emily's gifts. They'll eventually they'll get done. The gifts, they will. I was just really in the mood to paint something silver. Doing a lot of silver, so I've been having fun with the Sigmarines there. I just basically primed them black, and then I sprayed them silver from above, like a zenithal, basically. But a little bit, like I went a little bit more down the sides, but there's still definitely some black, like underneath the chin and underneath the arms and that kind of stuff, so you get that kind of shadow look. And then I threw a black wash over them. And then after that dried, then I dry brushed them some with a brighter silver to kind of pop the detail again a little bit more. And now I'm going through and like their shoulder pads where, like, if you think of the normal, Stormcast Eternals, they're gold and they have that blue. So in this situation, the gold will be silver in mine, and then the blue, like on their shield and on their shoulder pads, will be black. And then the accent color is going to be more in the like loinclothy kind of weird little dangly things hanging down over their privates, I'm assuming. I don't know. And those will be like a dark red. That's the plan. Let's see here. It's even in the tagline, there can be only one. See, this is the point. Yeah, like the at the end of Highlander, like that's the end. But then all of a sudden they're like, nah, we're going to make like 5 more of them or something like that. Never felt Caddyshack needed a sequel, which is why I never bothered watching it. Same here. I never felt that RoboCop needed any sequels or a reboot, so luckily they never bothered to make any, so that's really good. I'm glad. Let's see. Finding models isn't easy for Dracula's America. I've been using my Malifaux models for it. Yeah, I could see that. That's not a bad fit. I could definitely see that. Corvus Cabal makes good Raven Guard kit bash kits. Oh yeah, lots of feathery stuff that you could attach to a bunch of Raven Guard. That'd be pretty cool. I could see that. Let's see here. I'm excited to try Blood Bowl Season 2 this week. My husband is assembling them while listening. Nice. Matt from Game 4, who I do the Game 4 podcast with and work with, he, I think, just got the Season 2 Blood Bowl starter. And maybe one of the other guys at work did too. I think Jason might have. Or else Jason's got the original one. I don't remember. I think it's something like that, yeah. But they're going to probably start doing some Blood Bowl, I think. Well, they're going to be working on stuff and then hopefully play Blood Bowl once they can get back together again. I was going to be like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, well, we see each other all the time. I don't know why we couldn't get together and play. But then I realized we all work from home. So we see each other, like on a camera. I see Matt and Jason all the time for work, like every day during the week, but we're still not physically close to each other. Oh boy. Anyway, let's see here. No cyberpunk talks. No, so sick of hearing about it. I picked up the book, which is not, obviously, it's not like this came first, before the video game, but they did just recently release, finally, Cyberpunk Red, which I was going to buy at Gen Con 2019 because they had signs all over for it, and then it turned out, oh no, it's just the Jumpstart box, which had like some vague rules in it or whatever, and it was a box, and I was like, no, I don't want that, I want this, and like, oh, that's not out yet, and we're like, well, when's it gonna come out? And he's like, soon. Well, it finally came out, so I picked that up. So there's that. My friend has Blood Bowl, but I never found a team I liked. I have a Nurgle team, like, in the box. I haven't built them yet. That may be fun eventually. I don't know. Tabletop Minions. Will you do the Tabletop Minions Awards vid again for 2020? I like the tuxedo t-shirt. It's technically not an awards ceremony, I guess. Well, that's maybe, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Semantics at best. But yes, actually, that will go live on Christmas Day. Just strangely enough, because that's a Friday again. So it's not Christmas related. It just happens that I always do it. Well, when I say always, I mean last year, the first time I did it. It seems as if I do it the last Friday of December, and the last Friday of December this year seems to be Christmas. I'm just going to double check to make sure that's true. Yeah, because then the next Friday after that is the 1st of January. So yeah, I do it. I'll be doing it not next week, but the week after. It'll go live on Friday, December 25th. It will be the 2020 awards, or whatever it's called. What did I call it? Maybe it is getting awards. I don't remember. I already have all the artwork and all that stuff figured out and stuff, so I don't have to redo that again this year. I have to modify it for 2020 and everything, but I don't have to make a lot of stuff. And I will wear the tuxedo shirt again, though I need to find it. I know it's in one of my drawers. I know that. It's washed. I got that. Have you talked about the new Warcry books that came out yesterday? Are you eyeing any new warbands because of it? I don't know a ton about, like, I guess I didn't pay close enough attention to these new books to know what they are. I know there's one for each of the 4 Grand Alliances or whatever. There's one for Order and Death and Chaos and Destruction. But, like, do those replace the card packs that they put out that were slightly kind of limited edition, though they didn't mention that they were limited edition? Do they, like, are they new rules? Is it, like, I don't know what those new books are, and I haven't paid close enough attention, and there's been so much else going on, and they didn't send them to me, which I thought was a little weird. Not that it's, but, because so, like, they've sent me the last several codices for 40K. Like, they sent me the Blood Angels, which is technically a supplement. They sent me one for, like, the Space Wolves, and they sent me one for Death Watch. But I'm like, okay, that's cool. I mean, it's neat. I like looking at that stuff. But I don't really talk a lot about 40K specifically. So I don't know if I got on the wrong list in their marketing department or whatever. Because I'm like, I kind of was hoping to get these new books so I could look through them and maybe make a video about them and talk about them, but instead I didn't, and now I guess they're out, and now I'm going to have to go buy them, which I'm not against, although I may not buy them if I don't need them. Like, I don't know what's in there. I should really sit down and look at it a little bit closely. I don't know. It's like, I don't want to, it's weird, like, those decks of cards that came out for Warcry, so you could use normal Age of Sigmar armies in in Warcry. The thing that drove me nuts about those little weird foil card packs, 2 things. Number 1, drove me nuts that they were technically, I guess, limited edition, but yet not told to be, like, I just assumed they were going to be something you could get for a while, and all of a sudden, like, my local store's like, yeah, we can't order that anymore, and it's not on the website either. And you're like, but, what? Yeah, it just disappeared. Weird, number 1. Number 2, they never said, like, you couldn't flip over the back of the package and look at it and go, well, this has got these guys and these guys and these guys and these guys in it. At best, you could go to the website, and then they would tell you on the website, this is what's in the pack of cards. But they would never say, there's these 6 things in there. They would say, there's models in there such as, and then you would be like, well, are there more than that or not? At least I remember, I think that's how it was phrased on the website. I could be wrong. It was just very confusing, and it was kind of, like, annoying, like, opening up this pack of cards and hoping you knew what was inside. They could have just put that information in the back. That I think would have probably sold more cards, potentially. Also, they could have made it not limited edition. That might have also sold more cards. So I got to look in to see what these new books are. Hopefully my local shop has gotten some so I can take a look. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll figure something out. But yeah, it's just... I've been a little flummoxed by Warcry stuff lately. And that's been... I mean, I'm enjoying building and painting and that kind of stuff for it. And I'm looking forward to starting to play again a little bit. The release schedule has been confusing to me. So I don't know. Let's see here. Friend wants to play Warhammer Orcs but doesn't want to spend the money to get 500 points. I mentioned Kill Team, but he told me that that's not Warhammer 40k proper. Then your friend has got conflicting problems within their own brain. I don't know. Like, if you're saying, well, I want to play 40k with orcs, but I don't want to have a whole bunch of orcs. And you say, well, Kill Team is basically 40k, just smaller. It's like, well, it's not real 40k. It's not enough. It's like they're saying, I want a lot, but I don't want a few. Or I don't want a lot, but I also don't want a few. That's hard to get around. That seems to be a them problem, frankly. They're probably lovely people, but still, yeah. Because if you don't, because seriously, 500 points, which is in that situation a combat patrol versus Kill Team. In orcs, it's still going to be orcs. You're going to get maximum, I think, 20 orcs in a Kill Team, and with a combat patrol of orcs, you could go 40. I bet orcs easy. So that's a lot. It's at least double. If I'm any good at math, I don't know. It's hard to say. Let's see here. Resolution for Cyberpunk Skirmish. It must be good. It's old, and I'm one of the writers, and also old. Well, there you go. I vaguely remember the name Resolution with the Z instead of the S. I remember buying miniatures for that on eBay years and years ago. I don't know that I ever played it, though, but that's cool. When my friend introduced our store to the Dracula game, I coined it the term artisanal miniatures game. Yeah, to some degree. I mean, it's one of those... Osprey is not a super small independent company. I mean... Osprey is part of a much larger publishing company that publishes regular stuff, so there's that too. But their games are when you talk about small artisanal games, they're usually games that are produced by a couple of people that are self-published and stuff like that. And I enjoy several games like that. Speaking of Cyberpunk, there's another game over here, if I can get it out, called Hardwired, that I picked up, and this is by Patrick Todorov, sorry. He wrote Zona Alpha. So this is self-published. And it has a self-published quality to it. It's all black and white, and it's relatively simple looking on the inside. And it's got a cover, and it's got a little bit of artwork here and there, there's some guns and stuff like that. But it is it's cyberpunk espionage and mayhem, but it's basically a skirmish style game that I'm kind of interested in, so I picked that up. And also, like I said, I knew his work from Zona Alpha, so I wanted to check it out. But that's something, in my opinion, that's artisanal, because it's pretty much self-published and things like that. But yeah, I like the term, though. It's good. Let's see. Warmaster was technically epic scale Warhammer. Too bad they never supported it, but it was actually 10mm scale. Oh, that's cool. Relic Blade has been a skirmish game of choice for my virtual group lately. Fast, fun, and really unique characters. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting my copy of 2nd edition Relic Blade. I did the Kickstarter for it. It's one of the few Kickstarters I've done recently, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's hopefully coming soon. But that's also, a good skirmish game if you like fantasy stuff. Because it's seriously 5 models usually per side, so that's cool. I was thinking about getting Blood Bowl. Is Blitz Bowl easier to play? I think so, yes. Blitz Bowl, it's easier, it's smaller, it takes less time. It's a little bit less like football, American football, which is what Blood Bowl is kind of aimed towards. And it's a little bit more frenetic, which I enjoy, because it's not all about just we have to go all the way down to here and then touchdown or whatever, and then go all the way over to here and get another touchdown. the game can move around a lot more, yet you can still get points because there are these cards that you put up toward, off the board, and they will give you points for things you do. Like if you tackle 3 people this turn, well, then you'll get this, card, and then you get some points for it and stuff like that. So it's giving you objectives as opposed to just run to this end zone, run to that end zone, back and forth. So yeah, if you can find Blitzbowl, it is a cool game. I think it's definitely a good idea. But you have to get it from Barnes & Noble, from what I understand. I don't know why they do that. I wish that they would start selling it through Target like they do some of their other games, but they only sell it through Barnes & Noble, which is weird. I bought the rulebook for Advanced Song of Blades and Heroes 2 years ago, but only just got into the game. I love it. The online warband builder is a lot of fun to use. Yeah, no, it's very cool. It is a cool game. I don't know that I've seen the new online builder. I used to use the old one, but I haven't seen the new one. I should definitely check it out, though. My local friendly local game store has some of the Relic Blade minis. I am sorely tempted. Awesome looking models, but definitely not cheap. Cool, there's a lot of female models. Yeah, they're very well done. And the thing that's also cool about them as well is that, and this is not, but I find it cool. Like the illustration, the artwork, the sculpting, the game design, like pretty much everything's all done by one dude. His name is Sean Sutter, and he's very talented. So definitely. Your video about Song of Blades and Heroes from a few years ago is spot on. It's truly the best skirmish game to introduce new tabletop players to. Yeah, no, I did. It's a lot of. It's very good for that stuff because I've taught it at conventions a lot. It's very simple and quick and easy to explain, but still got some definite kind of strategy and elegance to even just the dice rolling to figure out, well, how many dice should I roll? I can roll between 1 and 3, but there are downsides if I roll 2 and get 2 failures, or 3 and get 2 failures. If I roll 1 and get 1 failure, that's not a downside other than I just don't get to do anything with that guy, but I also can't do as much stuff. So if I get successes, it's a lot of pushing your luck, basically, in your brain every time you want to roll dice, and that's, I think, a smart mechanic. It's very cool. Hey, Gaddis Gaming, how you doing? Anyone want a painted army? Thanks for backing Empire's Fall. Yes, that's one of the most recent, that's probably the most recent Kickstarter that I did back. I backed Empire's Fall from Gaddis Gaming. Which is a alternate history World War II game I would be getting. It's going to be, it's a tank on one side and 5 models, and then 10 models on the other side. So that's skirmishy, yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be cool. Let's see here. If I remember, Resolution was an early Kickstarter funded project, and the figures were designed by Mike McVeigh. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, because I remember buying Resolution stuff in the mid-2000s on eBay, and it had been out for a while. And Kickstarter wasn't out in the mid-2000s. So maybe because you know how like Mutant Chronicles was like an old thing, and then it came back again for a while. Maybe they did that too at Resolution. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see here. Second edition Relic Blade has been out for a while, though. I did copy editing on the rulebook, which was a lot of fun. Second edition Relic Blade? I don't think it's... Well, because I did the Kickstarter. I don't think it's been released yet. Not that I know of. I could be wrong. But, yeah, I didn't think that Relic Blade had been released yet. Or am I thinking of something else? No, that's right. Yeah, Relic Blade. With Sean, right? Sean Sutter? Yeah, I didn't think that second edition was out yet. Because it's they did a Kickstarter, which I don't believe has shipped. Relic Blade. I mean, they've been doing a lot of stuff with the Tabletop Simulator. I know that, but I don't know if the second thing is out yet. I'm looking at the website. You guys can't see it. I'm clicking on Shop. Seeker's Handbook 2nd edition. Huh. I wonder if that is... If they're still waiting on the models and they're going to ship all that stuff together at one time. I haven't paid super close attention, unfortunately. Oops. Shoot. That's not what I meant to do. Uh-oh. I don't know if I'm still streaming. Anyone, can you tell me if I'm still streaming? I closed the window and it did not mean to. I'm hoping I'm still streaming. The software's still going. I'm trying to get back to that window. It says I'm still live. One of those days. YouTube Studio. Clicking on that. Going to... Oh, come on, man. Yep, so glad they changed the back end, because now I can't find... live. Okay. Still live, according to moderator Matt. He sent me a text, which I appreciate. Okay, well, I'm going to keep trying to get back to the page that actually has the information on it that's useful. Live control room. There you go. That only takes 28 clicks. Okay, there we go. Do I still have the chat window up? Yeah, good enough. All right. Just going to keep going. We'll see how this all goes. All right. Video and audio okay. Okay, there we go. Still can't see Nick. Still back there, hiding behind me. There we go. Great skirmish game is This Is Not a Test. It's everything that Necromunda should have been. I kind of say I like Necromunda better, but it might be more the flavor and the models. The rule set's not terrible for... I've played This Is Not a Test, but it hasn't been a long, long time since I played it. Yeah, I closed the Firefox window I was using. I used to use Chrome for streaming YouTube, and then it didn't work really well for a while, which I think is weird, since Chrome and YouTube are the same company. But anyway, so there we go. As far as I can tell, things are basically working. All right, so let's see here. Other things. Honestly, would not be able to pass on a new version of Kill Team. Yeah, I mean, if I... And I'm no clairvoyant, and they haven't told me anything yet, but if I had to guess, probably we'll see a new version of Kill Team in summer. It just kind of follows, you know, because they kind of are on a 3-year cycle these days. There was, is it a 3-year? It's not 2 years, is it? I think it's 3 years. No, yeah, because it was, 8th edition came out in 2017 summer, I'm pretty sure. And then Kill Team came out in 2018 summer. And then we got 9th edition 3 years after, so in 2020 summer. So if it's 3 years after, probably Kill Team in 2021 summer. I don't know that for sure, but probably. Let's see here. If I want to start playing with Song of Blades and Heroes, should I hit the original or the updated version? Well, there's like the original version, and then there's advanced. Original version has been updated. I think last I looked, it was on version 4 or 5. I forget. So you might look at that. But then there's also advanced, which basically just has more. It gives you more options. It gives you more of that kind of stuff. I got to be honest. I would almost start with the regular version, and then kind of get the hang of that and start playing that, and then look into advanced. But your mileage may vary. You may be much more smarter than I am, and be able to handle that. But yeah, like when I first got into Song of Blades and Heroes, advanced version wasn't out yet, so that was the only choice at the time. And then they made a lot of add-ons to it and stuff like that. But I like just the regular version, frankly. I love how you're all telling him in chat that he could not see that he was live. Well, see, the thing is, the chat window didn't close, because the chat window's separate, but the main window closed, and that's why I didn't know if I could. So I could still see chat, but I was also scrolled way up at the top, and it was a whole thing. But we're all good now. Thoughts on the X-Wing miniature game? Kind of a skirmish game. That's true. I mean, I used to play X-Wing back when it was version 1. I mean, they didn't call it version 1 because they hadn't had version 2 yet. But yeah, now it's like 2.0 or the second version. I have not played the second version. I still have my ships. I've actually, since the second version's come out, I've played 1.0 with a friend of mine a couple of times. But yeah, we never upgraded. So there's that. Let's see here. They should make a tabletop miniatures version of Stratego. I don't even know what that would be like. I haven't played Stratego since I was a small child. Rangers of Shadow Deep. Yep, that's also a good one. It's a little bit more... I don't want to say it's on rails, but you have to... If you're going to do the scenarios, a lot of the scenarios are very much like you need 3 kobolds and 6 skeletons and this, and it's very specific. So you can proxy stuff, but it's not just like grab some enemies and put them over here, because very frequently you're also playing in a cooperative situation, or or even what you would call PvE in video games, which is player versus environment. So you might have two players who are not working necessarily together, but there's also stuff that they have to worry about that might attack them that's run by the game, basically. So, but that also allows you then to play single player if you want to. So there's that too. So Relic Blade's Kickstarter was for two new player starter and cards. Still use second Seeker's Handbook, so sort of 2.1 update. That makes sense. I would not mind a kill team box with terrain and two bands. Two boards would be weird, but two bands make sense. All right, yeah. I mean, I suspect that's something, well, I don't know. That's a good question. They would probably make another starter box, but they would also release the book separately if they decided to make a second edition or whatever. Now, I know the next kind of thing that should be coming out for Kill Team, though, because they had that kind of weird, vague announcement a couple months back, is the new Pariah Nexus or whatever. So I don't know if that's... Like, if you remember the Rogue Trader box that they made for Kill Team, where you had two warbands in there, and they were very specific, like they were not models from other kits, they were just for this, and then they had the thing. So I'm wondering if they're going to release a box set like that sometime in the very late winter, early spring, and that might be Pariah Nexus, which would be interesting. They might not do it exactly that same way. They just may use a bunch of Necron models, the new Necron models that they came out with in Dominus. They might throw some of those in there, and maybe some other stuff. I don't know. And then there's lots of different options. They could go, like I said, the Rogue Trader way. They could go more like Blackstone Fortress, maybe even a little bit, where you've got some models in there that they can use in other kits, but then it's a whole bunch of different conglomerations of weird stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Just got my group into Warcry. Are these new Alliance books and Battletome 2020 going to rebalance everything? I've heard Sylvaneth aren't faring well, and I just got my warband. I unfortunately have no idea. I was just talking about that earlier. Like, they didn't send me in that stuff, which I was a little surprised by, because I talk about Warcry a bunch and Skirmish stuff, but they've been sending me 40k stuff, which I don't really talk about as much because I don't really play 40k these days. GW, that is, sending some stuff. So I haven't had a chance to look at it, and I haven't sat down and read Warhammer community real close on all that release stuff because I've been busy doing a lot of other things. So, but I do want to find out. I do want to pick up the new stuff. It's a little bit of a bummer. I don't know. Maybe it's just as I'm getting older that time seems to go faster. But it seems like the Tome of Champions just came out, but that was a year ago. So yeah, I'll take a look at that though. I am interested. I still really, really like Necromunda. I think also a good skirmish game, says Brian. It's maybe not great as a pickup game, but it's very satisfying. The creativity they encourage is very much my bag. Yeah, no, I really like... For skirmish games, I like a skirmish game that gives you the ability to just do a one-off, especially for learning games. Like, if it requires... it's hard to teach somebody how to play a role-playing game. You kind of have to just jump into the deep end. Like, if you've never played a role-playing game before and you get some people who are willing to kind of help you, but you're getting into a campaign, even if it's a super short campaign, you're getting into a campaign at least to kind of learn, right? So there's that. With miniature war games, most miniature war games have the ability to play a one-off game, which is way easier to teach than, specifically a game like Song of Blades and Heroes, like I've mentioned a bunch of times. It's super easy to teach. I've taught it at conventions for a long time. But if the only way to play the game was to play in a campaign mode for some reason, I don't even know why that would be, but let's say that was the case, it would be obviously a lot harder to teach new people to play when you have to play. Like, let's say some rules didn't come into effect until the second or third game in the campaign. That would be tougher to teach to some degree, I think. So I do like a game that has the ability to play one-off, which, frankly, Rangers of Shadowdeep is a little difficult to do because Rangers of Shadowdeep does have a tendency to be kind of an RPG light style game. Someone just mentioned that. Brad just mentioned that in the chat. But I do generally like to play more campaign style when I'm playing with people who are a little bit more experienced or who've been playing that game for a while, I kind of preferred the campaign aspect of it. I really do. I wish games came with terrain in their starter. It was a pain making Fallout stuff so I could play solo. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hills to climb with miniature wargaming in general. I have a hair in my mouth. That's also one of the hills to climb, is getting a hair in your mouth. But the other one is that most times it's not just like everything in one box. I mean, you know, like the reason the original Kill Team starter is kind of prized is because it was a bunch of terrain, 2 sets of models, the book, and it was reasonably priced. And that's not been a thing that's been going on as much these days. So, yeah, it's a little bit more difficult. You're doing your awards for 2020 on Christmas Day. What about your hopes or predictions for 2021? That's a good question. I'm trying to remember the last time I did one of those. I can't remember if it was 2019 or 2000. It must have been 2019. I'll have to look. Maybe it's something. Might be something I do in January. It's potential. Adam, do you put weights on minis so they're not so light as air? Are you aware of a product that does this besides lead fish sinkers? I have sometimes just used nickels. Like if you got a nickel, you just glue the nickel onto the inside of the base. If the base has got the little slot thing in there, then you can't, which is a real bummer. But if it doesn't have the slot thing, you can usually fit a nickel in there and glue it in there, and they cost about 5 cents. So I've done that. Like I've got a Tyrannid, Gene Stealer, who just Tippy McGee just constantly falls over because he's leaning really far forward, because that's how Gene Stealers always. It's got to be exhausting to be constantly leaning forward and running like that. But anyway. But I can't put any weights. I can't put any, like, certainly not a coin underneath there because he's on a slot base. So there's like a thing running, a channel running down the middle of it, which is a real bummer. Yeah. It's also hard to teach someone to make a warband. Yeah, I can see that. If you're going to teach somebody the game and you already have 2 warbands, then it's easy to just be like, you use these guys and I'll use these guys and whatever. But if a person gets more interested in things like that, then you start trying to teach. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm still not good at building lists. You know, I'll build them. I know how to do it legally. I know how to do it so that it comes out, it's the right amount of points and all that jazz. But I'm not good at like building good lists or efficient lists or lists that even make any sense. That is a problem as well. Can't beat Marvel Crisis Protocol for pickup games. Anything with character cards you can hand out and all the rules and powers right in the card is a plus in my book. Yeah, it is I mean, I think that's a well done design, specifically again for getting kind of maybe new folks into it. I think that game is a little targeted towards folks who are maybe a little bit more superhero oriented than they are game oriented. I'm not saying it's like simple or easy, but I do think that they were trying to figure out how can we use this to maybe to get people into wargaming a little bit, or miniatures at least, whether it's wargaming or not necessarily, since they're not really soldiers. Weird noises outside. Infinity is an amazing sci-fi skirmish game. Starter kits also come with nice looking paper terrain as a bonus. Yeah, I've got a bunch of friends that play Infinity. I think they just had a 4th edition. Didn't they just release a 4th edition? I swear I heard that. The models have gotten better. I remember building some of the Infinity models back in the early 2010s, and there were a lot of parts on those metal models, and they were hard to glue together in some situations. From what I understand, they're still metal models, but a lot of them now are fewer parts. You're looking at models that are 3 parts instead of... Well, I built one Infinity model that it was at least a dozen parts, and that's real hard when you're putting together with... It's a pain with plastic. It's real hard when it's metal. So, and I know there's different parts of the country or different parts of the world where Infinity's more not famous, popular. And like I said, around by me, there is a decent amount of people who play it. Sam is one of them. He likes playing it too, Sam Lenz. But they don't, I have not played. I've gotten some demos a couple of times. Even Sam sat me down one time to show me how to play and teach me with a demo game. And there's something about the rule set that just doesn't click with me. It doesn't make me go, oh, this is a lot of fun. I don't know why. To me, the issue is that as I'm being taught how to play Infinity, I feel as if this game has been written by a person who's never played a war game before. And that's not a slight, technically. It takes pretty much all the conventions of normal wargaming rules and ignores them. Like, just even from the get, you're generally rolling on a 20-sider. Most war games don't do that. Okay, cool. It's not that hard. But you're almost always trying to aim low as opposed to roll high, which is also hard to kind of keep in your head sometimes. And then accept that a critical, instead of being a 1, since we're trying to roll low, a critical is rolling exactly the target number you need, not... it's just all these little things like that. Except that sometimes you're trying to roll high, like for your armor, and not roll low. And it's just it's just never stuck with me. I'm not sure why. I think also because, and this is just me being dumb, I think a lot of the names of a lot of the units are names that I have a hard time pronouncing. I know it sounds dumb, but there are times when you look at, like, there are games out there that can be very well done and be very creative, but if they've got a bunch of, like, really hard to pronounce names, you're less likely to be, at least I'm less likely to be interested. I don't know why. Some sort of loud vehicle rumbling outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Probably the neighbors. Latest edition of Infinity streamlined a ton of rules, and their intro version, Code 1, does a lot to make the game easy. I'll have to check it out. I'm interested. Yeah. I put the models on larger bases to avoid the tippy syndrome. I can see that. I mean, certain models, I can see that, certainly. Gasland rocks. Yeah, I would say Gasland's skirmishy. If we're going to say that the Kings of War Armada game is skirmish, then I think that Gaslands can be a skirmish as well. Another good skirmish game that I would like to try out. I was hoping to try it out at some convention in 2019, and it never occurred. But I do want to try out Kings of War Vanguard. I want to give that a try. In relation to Infinity, the second edition models were god-awful. They design in 3D now, and they're much better to put together. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that they're better now. I talked to somebody, I think at the beginning of the year. I think maybe at the Las Vegas Open, which was the last convention that I was at, and I was talking to someone about that, and they were saying, oh, the newer models are a lot better. So yeah, I should check into that. Gaslands is great, stupid fun, but I don't think the gear mechanic is particularly kid-friendly. I could see that. Yeah, definitely. Speaking of skirmish, anyone here played Dead Zone? It's sort of like the Kill Team, but better. I had the original Dead Zone box. I built terrain for it, their modular kind of battle system stuff, and I painted up the Plague, which are the bad guys, and the Enforcers, which are the good guys. And yeah, this was first edition, so got it all set up. Got everything together, got the dice, the cards, all that jazz, loaded it into like a plastic like little tub that I could carry everything into. Everything was protected. I had the t-shirts wrapped around the terrain so it wouldn't get scraped up in transit. Took it to Adepticon, I don't know, 2016? 2017? And we were going to play it one night, like after some of the tournaments, later in the evening when a lot of the tournaments were done and stuff like that. And there was some table space available, so we got all set up and we were ready to go. And we had too much booze. And just, I'm like, I can't focus on trying to learn these rules. It was the worst idea I'd had in a while, I think, at that point. To be like, hey, I think the first time that I try to play this game, because I had watched a couple of bat reps, but they just didn't sink in. And we were just, like, not completely all there because we were drinking. And we were like, so I had it all set up in the thing. And all different people were like, oh, this is cool looking and everything and all that stuff. And I'm like, how do you play it? I'm like, I don't know. Now, I know that there's a newer edition that got rid of the cards, which probably helped. But I haven't had a chance to play it, unfortunately. I really like to, though, because one of the concepts I love about the game, though, is that you really don't need a tape measure too much because it's grid based, but it's not like I move my guy from like square 1, square 2, square 3. It's more of these bigger grids, and you can be anywhere in the grid that you want, so it can be important. It's less board gamey because you're not like, oh, I just move 1, 2, 3. It's more of like, I get to move 2 squares, and in that square, I can be anywhere, and there can be scatter terrain, and I can decide to be behind the scatter terrain or not behind the scatter terrain, and it can affect how other people can shoot me and stuff like that. So it's not like a board game where you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, like on a grid that's the size of your models. They're much bigger, and then instead of having to pull a tape measure and go, okay, I need to move 8 inches. You can instead be like, I need to move 3 squares, but I can end up anywhere I want within this square, which can help you for cover and all kinds of stuff like that. I think that's a super smart idea. I mean, you have to generally use like a board that's got those right size squares and stuff like that. You can't just use any old board, but it's also small too. It's like a 2 foot by 2 foot, or maybe 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot, something like that. It's a pretty small board, which is also kind of nice. And yeah, the terrain is cool and stuff. There's a lot to like about it. What's your opinion on using proxies in Age of Sigmar? I have Seraphon, and have been sick waiting on GW models, so I've got my own from 3D printers. I try to keep them as close to the GW ones as possible. I mean, amongst your friends, I think it's fine. I know that there are tournaments out there that have specific rules about what models you should use or should not use and things like that. Some of them are more strict than others. I mean, I'm a big fan of games that tell you to use whatever models you want. Like, they don't make a model system, you know? Like, we came up with rules, we came up with a book, and use the models you like. And then there are other companies out there that are like, we came up with a book, and we've got some models, but you don't have to use them. You can use whatever you want. And I like that system. I mean, GW doesn't tell you, oh, you can only use these models to play the game. They don't technically do that. They suggest it a lot. And some tournaments, specifically if they're backed by Games Workshop, have that as a rule for big, competitive play. But, even if the company makes a book, and in the book the rules say you can only use these models to play our game, I would like them to come and try to stop me from using whatever models I want here in the basement or, at the studio or whatever. It's just not, that's not how tabletop games work. Now, if I decide to go to a tournament that's run by somebody else and they have a rule that says you have to do this or you have to do that or all your models have to be painted blue, well, then that's the rule. And then I make a decision about whether I go to that convention or that tournament or whatever or not. But the thing that's cool about miniature games is that you can change the rules on any given time at any whim as long as you and your opponent agree. Now, if your opponent's like, I will not play against somebody who doesn't use the finest of very, very old GW models because they haven't made new replacements yet, well, then don't play with that person. I guess that's the way that works, But yeah, I don't have a problem with proxies. Like I said, I like to kit bash things. I like to change things. Most of my kill team stuff and everything like that, I generally kind of follow the rules to some degree, but it's because I like those models as they are. But I also own a lot of Necromunda models because I take those models and use them for other games and tweak them and change them and swap out their heads and do all kinds of stuff like that. So it's totally up to what you want to do. You all have kept me company making curry. Ooh, yeah, that sounds tasty. I don't know why I'm hungry. It's only 10:30 in the morning. My most favorite beer and pretzels miniature game of all time is Silent Death. It's quick to learn, fast-paced, and has lots of variety. Fast-paced, I think, is a term that maybe you and I think different things about. I have played Silent Death. I played Silent Death for years. And I do remember plenty of games where I'm just like, I wish this game would go along quicker. I don't know. Maybe it was just my friends that I played with. But Silent Death, there's a lot of little paperwork. It's not Battletech. Don't get me wrong. But and it's a fun game. I did enjoy it. But fast-paced is not necessarily a term that I would add in there. We should play Dead Zone at TMX 2022. Yeah, I mean, I've got, like I said, I got terrain. I got the boards. I got the new book. But I have not played it yet. The only forces I have are, like I said, are the Enforcer guys and the Plague guys. Well, I have some dwarves, the Forge Fathers, somewhere in the basement, but they're not painted, but I should probably paint them eventually anyway. David Moffat says, yeah, it looks like Mercs is back too. That's the oldest Uncle Adam video I've seen. Yeah, so Mercs is going to be going back into production, I get. Well, okay, so the company that originally made the game Mercs, originally they were just called Mercs. Like, that was the name of the company because that was the only thing they made. And then they changed their name to Megacom, I think, Productions or Megacom Games or something like that. Brian and Keith were the two main guys that I knew from that group, and I had interviewed them a couple of times for when I was with Beasts of War and stuff, and they were cool guys. Loved Keith's artwork. He did the majority of the artwork in that game. And they did Myth, which had a pretty successful Kickstarter, and there's just lots of different things. The company did not they couldn't kind of stay together or stay profitable or whatever. I mean, they both had families and stuff, and I think day jobs and things, and it's just kind of tough. So they sort of shut down a year or two ago, I think, maybe more. Time does fly. The another group has gotten together and is basically buying up mercs from them, and they're going to, from what I understand, they're going to be selling the stuff that's still, produced and ready to go, and then I think they're going to do probably a Kickstarter or something like that and make a third edition, technically, of mercs, because there was the first edition and then there was a second edition, so I think they're making a third edition. So there'll be new models, stuff going on, so that'll be interesting. I know one of the guys who's involved with that relatively well. We chatted a little bit about it online recently. And so that's coming soonish. I don't know what the timeline is currently right now, but yeah, Mercs is coming back to some degree, which is cool. I always liked the models. The mechanic where you used your card as the measuring template for moving your figures, that was always the thing that I had the most trouble with. And it wasn't like a big deal. It was just kind of like, that was just sort of bothered me a little bit. But I loved the models, the artwork, the storyline I thought was very cool. I loved that your army was 5 models and that was it. Like there was no, the list building was basically, I think you couldn't take doubles on anything and you had to get 5 models. So like each faction had maybe like 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 models to pick from, but you can only ever run 5. Which was kind of cool. It just makes it easy for people, I think, and it's still kind of interesting. I love Osprey's approach to providing the option for official models while explicitly saying that hey, also use what you have, and that's cool too. Yeah, I mean, they don't do it with all their games, but they do it with, like, they made models for Frostgrave, obviously. Both the metal models that they made for the Wizards and the Apprentices, and then they also worked with a company called North Star something or other, that made a lot of plastic models that were designed kind of for them too, like the soldiers and the cultists and the barbarians and all that kind of stuff. Those were cool. Dracula's America did the same thing. They had metal models for that. I don't think they had plastic models for that. Oathmark, kind of the same way. They're doing that same sort of thing. They didn't, I mean, for Gaslands, they obviously have not made miniatures for Gaslands, but they worked with those same plastics guys again, North Star, to make sprues of little weapons and stuff like that for you to glue onto your Matchbox cars and your Hot Wheels and whatever, so that you can make the games that you don't have to kit bash as much. I mean, you're still kit bashing to some degree, but you're not having to like make this thing look like a missile launcher. It's actually a tiny little missile launcher. It doesn't actually shoot missiles, sadly. But yeah, and that's really nice. And it's like a $15 sprue, or maybe it's 2 sprues in a bag, and it's, I don't know, 7 by 9 or something like that inches. And there's a lot of little cool parts and little machine guns and turrets and all kinds of junk that you can, and little pieces of armor, all kinds of stuff that you can glue onto your Matchbox cars and stuff, so that you can make cool Gaslands things. But yeah, it's a company called North Star Miniatures that makes that set, for reasons that I don't quite understand, but I'm glad for. One of the local shops near me has that stuff in stock, which is great. Yeah. Your stomach is just on Ohio time. It's 11:40 here. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Let's see. I'll bring my Veerman and Forge Fathers. Oh, there you go. That would be a good idea. My favorite convention is Check Your Six. I only played, or your favorite convention game is Check Your Six. I only played at conventions. I could see that, yeah. Let's see here. Got my old Lamium Medium, or no, I thought it was Lamium Medium. Sorry, I got my old Lamium Undead Army, plenty of single bases. Nice. Saw a video last night unboxing Wargames Atlantic Space Dwarves squats. Look pretty nice. No distributor here in Canada, though. I bought some stuff direct from Wargames Atlantic, at the beginning of the pandemic. It took a really long time to get here, but, the mail was sucky, and still sucky, but it wasn't their fault. But it did get here, so that was good. They're cool models, and there's lots and lots and lots of bits in those. I got they're like kind of sci-fi, but they sort of also look a little, they're almost like Napoleonic sci-fi. They're kind of interesting models. I'd never seen anything quite like it, and I've used a bunch of parts from them in other projects. But I do want to actually build some of those models and just try to build them the normal way and see what I can do with them. Let's see here. Check out Pulp Alley. I don't know if I've heard of Pulp Alley. Hey, Malev, how you doing? I'm literally driving to California tomorrow to help last-minute playtesting and develop on the things we're packaging with the Relic Blade Kickstarter. Excited to send on your way, Uncle Adam. Well, absolutely, yeah. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Really am. Especially the models, specifically. I'm really looking forward to that. North Star Military Figures. It's a mouthful. Yep, those are the guys. Yep. Anyone heard or played 7TV from Crooked Dice? That name sounds super familiar, 7TV, though I don't remember why. Is it? I thought it was an RPG for some reason. Is it a miniatures game? I should look into it. Were they at Adepticon 2019? I either saw them at Gen Con or Adepticon, but I remember walking by. Or it could have been at the Gamma or at Origins. But I remember walking by a booth. I can picture the logo in my head. These are not great answers, but they're the answers I have, unfortunately. I have to say I really like the look of the different eras you can play. Got to watch some bat reps to see if I like the house or like the rules mechanics. Yeah, I've never seen any bat reps out there for 7TV. Is it possible that the Pachow movement unintentionally started with the Disney movie Cars? McQueen there says Kachow several times. I've never seen that movie. I was going to say that's the one with the cars, right? But that seems like it's probably the one with the cars because it's on the tin. I've seen commercials for it. But no, I don't know where that word... I mean, it was one of those things where when I first started doing YouTube, there were no cards. That little thing that pops up here, up in the corner, that comes out, that wasn't the way they used to do it. They used to have these things called annotations, which if you've been using YouTube long enough, you probably remember them. They were these just ugly boxes that you could put any place you wanted to. And you could cover the entire screen, and you would see people who would make a box here, but then make a link underneath it that they would try to overlap. So you'd click the link by accident, and it was a mess. Anyway, they got rid of annotations eventually and just switched to cards, which is a little dot up here that has the thing that pops out. And so when I was going to start doing those, I thought, oh, it'd be cool if I could point at them somehow and get hey, up here, and that'd be fun. And then it just sort of happened where I was pachow, and then it happened, and then it became a thing. So and then I had I was going to show you a hat, but I seem to have moved it downstairs. But yeah, you've seen maybe the knit cap. It's been in the last couple of videos at the end. Anyway, yeah, but I never saw Cars. I watched some Pixar stuff. Is that one Pixar? I don't know. I haven't seen it. 7TV is pretty cool. I love the way that their minis are references to classic TV shows. Yeah, see, that's what I remember, that it had something to do with TV. I mean, it's in the name and all. Is it possible? I read that one. You don't really need the Gaslands kits. It's pure joy to create your own cars, get some styrene strip, sheet and angle, and go to town. I mean, yeah, if you like that stuff, but if you're and with certain things, yes, but there's times when you're I want it to look more like a machine gun than just a plastic tube. You know what I mean? So I like the concept of using those as well. But there are still times when you're well, I'm going to create my own thing here, But yeah. Are Space Dwarves really squats without bikes? That's a good question. I don't know. 7TV is a miniature gaming in pulp, movie, and TV. Huh. All right, yeah. There you go. We need a tabletop minion critter for merch. A critter? I don't even know what kind of critter. It'd probably have to be a cat, most likely. I don't know. My local GW only lets you bring in miniatures that they sell in store. Well, yeah, I get that. I mean, I don't personally kind of agree with it, although I could easily see if you let people come in and play at your store and you're a Games Workshop, I could see people just to be jerks, to be well, I'm going to just come in and play Kings of War or whatever, any game that's not theirs that they don't sell. I could see that. So there's that. And yes, if you're going to a GW game store, you're probably going to need to use their stuff. That's true. But any other store that sells more than just GW probably doesn't care. And again, like I said, if you're just playing against friends and stuff like that, they probably don't care, or at least not too much. Tournaments, especially if they're backed by GW, sometimes have a requirement because GW is trying to sell models. I get that. I understand it. Saw an old video where you said Pachu. Well, sounds like I goofed up. I don't know. 7TV was at Adepticon 2019. That's probably where I saw it then. Yeah. I just like to imagine he's in a grocery store and goes to explain something and points over his shoulder and goes pachow and folks just stare at him. Yeah, it does. It probably happens. Cars is the Maximum Overdrive prequel, right? Is it the prequel or is it the sequel? Is it like now the world is taken over by cars with faces on them? I don't know. That's yeah, could be. Us old guys were saying pachow years ago. It's a thing from Adam and mine's generation. Probably. I mean, it just sounds like a Batman kind of like, you know, one of those things when you're like, pachow, and then there's the big thing, and then boom, and whatever. I don't know. And like Adam West Batman, 60s Batman, as opposed to, you know, Christian Bale Batman. That would be funny, though, if somebody like, and I'm sure someone probably has done this on YouTube, like taken a fight scene from the Batman movie, and then all the scary Christopher Nolan, Hans Zimmer music and all this stuff in the dark and gritty, and then, you know, like there's a punch and he hits somebody, and then it just like pauses and says, you know, kablangy or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, I could see that. A lot of GW stores won't even let you play with Forge World models. Well, that just seems dumb. They sell them. Pulp Alley is a great set of rules of all kinds of pulp. I think I've seen Pulp Alley again. Maybe it's also at Adepticon. I might have seen them. I know I bought some Fishmen, and it might have been from Pulp Alley. I got some metal Fishman Cthulhu-y type models, and it might have been from Pulp Alley, or it might have been from their booth at the very least. Are they the guys that were they also selling a game called Black Sun that was like a Vietnam game where it was like Viet Cong and USMC fighting against Fishmen with AK-47s? Because I've got some of those Fishmen with AK-47s models too. Those are fun. What skirmish game has a campaign mode where characters grow and suffer wounds like the old Necromunda? Throwing rules for your warband having a base would be a plus. Well, in fantasy, you'd be looking at probably Frostgrave. That's one of the games that I can think of off the top of my head that has a base. I think Fallout Wasteland Warfare also allows you to have a base. And it's not a physical thing. It's just like between games, it's a thing that you sometimes spend money to update, to do things. You've got money or resources or whatever to spend in between each game. And sometimes you spend it to update these people, and sometimes you spend it to make your base better. And you track that information on your character sheet or your whatever, and then you know that you get these benefits or those benefits, and they affect kind of everybody in your warband or whatever. And that's kind of a cool concept. I like those concepts too. There's probably some other ones as well, though. Yeah. Don't know why, but Maximum Overdrive elicits warm, fuzzy feelings. Should I seek help? Nah, probably not. It's fine. It's fine. I have not watched that I've not watched that movie in a long, long, long time. I should try to find it. It's been easily at least 20 years since I've watched that movie. GW is a model seller above everything else. Nothing wrong with it. It's just not the games for me. Well, that's cool. I mean, not that they're the biggest in the industry, and I have a tendency to talk about them for a couple of different reasons. One is because I frequently play a lot of their games or build a lot of their models, so I just don't find it useful for me to try to talk about stuff that I don't play or I don't buy. I mean, I'm not a news channel. If I was a news channel, then I would have to go out and find out about all the new releases all the time and talk about all kinds of stuff. People ask me all the time, they're like, why don't you talk about this game? Why don't you talk about that game? And I'm just like, I don't play it, and it would be weird for me to sit down and talk about a game I don't know anything about. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. So there's that. Secondly, because this channel is really about, for the most part, about trying to get more people into the hobby, new people into the hobby, them being the biggest in the industry, it's the thing that like lots and lots and lots of people have heard about. So when they come into the industry, and I made a video about this years ago. I don't know if it landed very well. It didn't make a lot of sense, maybe. I don't know. But it was about like, when you first get into music, very frequently you get into popular music, right? Whatever's on the radio and stuff that's popular. Games Workshop is kind of like that. And then if you start getting more and more into music, you start finding more and more independent bands, more and more like obscure stuff, and if you get more and more into miniatures, sometimes you go that direction too, and you start playing stuff like Pulp Alley and 7TV and these things that are produced by very small companies that, we were talking about artisanal miniature games earlier, same type of thing. And so that's why I also, if I only talked about the very, very weird, very, very obscure stuff, people wouldn't, it would not be great for the channel, number one, but also that stuff's difficult to get into from the ground floor sometimes. It's something that you eventually end up doing once you started out in the kind of larger, more commercial space, kind of playing these games, having more access to these games, having more access to people who play these games, and then eventually you might start to go, hey, this is very cool, and you start to work on it, maybe teach some of your friends this game system that's small and weird, but you all, it just scratches an itch with all of you amongst your group, and that's the cool kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah. So I don't know if that's true or not. I'm telling you, Adam has gills. No, I don't think so. I mean, I would have seen them by this point, right? I'm nearly 50. I'm thinking of that guy from that TV show, The Boys, where he doesn't have gills like here. They're like kind of on his chest or his tummy or something like that. The Deep, that's his name. I don't have any of those either. I'm not going to show you, but I don't have any of those. Anyway, what car would Uncle Adam be? Probably either a station wagon or a van. I don't know. Something like that. Hatchback. Probably a hatchback. Let's see. My last two cars have been hatchbacks. I had a little tiny four-door before that, and then I had a station wagon before that. Stargrave coming out in 2021, sci-fi version of Frostgrave. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's coming out in April. I am trying to get Osprey to remember to send me a copy of that early so I can talk about it, because I'm very interested. Definitely. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I believe Stephen King has stated that he does not remember directing Maximum Overdrive. Well, he was on a lot of coke, from what I understand. So yeah, that I can see that. Yeah, Diaz 52, exactly. Yeah, he was into a lot of coke at the time. That's how that works. Fishman, I see your Fishman and raise you with space lizards with lasers. There's a kill team that I want to finish. I've just started and I made a couple of like test models, but I wanted to use lizardmen. And then instead of lizardmen with, spears and whatever, I wanted to give them bolters, specifically older bolters if I can find them. Like the current bolters are fine, but like they used to make these older bolters. They were a different pattern, like not Phobos. I don't forget what the name is, but it was an older like pattern bolter kind of that they put out. And I've been trying to find them here and there from bit sellers and things like that. And then, because I want them to have guns, like bolters that they found, bolt guns. And then instead of the shields that they would normally carry that you see the lizardmen carrying, I was buying shield drones, if I could just find cheap shield drones here and there from the Tau. And then I was basically kind of like hollowing out the backside of the top of the drone, and they were holding it like it's a shield. So instead of holding a shield, they were holding the top part of a drone. So it was as if they've downed some Tau drones and now they've used them as shields, and they have some stolen bolters, and they're going to be getting into trouble. And I was going to use them under the for Kill Team, the Kroot rules. And like I said, I got a couple of them built. I should put a picture of them if I can find both of them. I know where one is, but I should see if I can find where the other one is. It's probably on my secondary hobby table someplace. Anyway, yeah, I should put some pictures on Instagram. Let's see here, Fishman. Let's see, the Deep wouldn't show us either. We now know you have gills. That's a good point. Well, you saw his gills in the TV show. Let's see here. Would the type of car you'd be your first car, current car, or a car manufactured under the year you were born? That's a good question. I don't know. I again, didn't see any of them. There have been multiple movies of cars, right? I haven't seen any of them. I've seen a lot of commercials, though. Yes, the show is only 2 hours long because that's the longest I can be out of water. It's a good point. Rogue Trader era bolt guns have since been designated as Umbra pattern bolt guns. I'll have to try to remember that, because that could be good for eBay searches, potentially. I vote that you complete this team. Yeah, it was a cool concept, and I don't know what are the Crutoxes? I don't know what I would use for Crutoxes. I think there are some bigger lizards in the Lizardman line that I could use and try to figure out. Uncle Adam, what's your favorite Warlords game? Probably Conflict 47. That's the one that I'm most, I think, aligned with, because it's It's skirmishy. It's a little bigger than Skirmish, but still skirmishy. It's World War II aimed, but not straight up historical because you got laser tanks and werewolves and stuff like that. So I think Conflict 47. Plus, like, excuse me, bolt action set, just the overall game system, I think is well done. I really do like. I love reaching into the pouch to pull out the dice so you know what your activation is. I think that's a really cool, fun mechanic. All right, well, it is 11 a.m. here in my neck of the woods, so I want to thank everyone for coming by. I'm going to go back later on, I think, through the chat. I'll run the video at like twice speed or 3 times speed or something like that, and then just go through the chat and copy and paste, and because I want to get a good list of Skirmish games. So if you've got any more Skirmish games in here you're interested in, definitely throw them in the chat and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've got. I'm always looking for cool Skirmish games, and so let me know or send me a message on Facebook or comment in the video later on if you're watching this later or however you want to do it. But yeah, looking for a good list of Skirmish games. I kind of want to build something based off of it. And yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming by, and I hope that you have a good rest of your day, no matter whether it's Monday or Sunday or whatever. And we'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. It'll be the Sunday after Christmas, so the 27th is the next one. But otherwise, I'll be on Twitch tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. And then on Friday, I'll be also on Twitch, and probably going to be doing Twitch on Christmas morning. So, because I'm not going anywhere, so and why not? We'll see how that goes. But anyway, thanks for everybody coming by, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And I hope you have a good holiday if you're into that kind of thing. And thanks for watching.